Hey guys, Armageddon Actual here. As always, I have got something to talk about. I have been absent since early to mid-September. It's the last time I posted any videos or did anything actively. That's because I've had a lot of things going on in my personal life, and as a lot of you gamers know, in that time we've had a lot of different games and DLCs come out. We've had ShadowKeep for Destiny 2, Ghost Recon came out with Breakpoint, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare actually came out as well, more recently in November. And so I've actually taken the time to go and play all three of these games fairly extensively. I really wanted to get into them and enjoy them and absorb as much of them as possible, and now I've decided that even though it's a bit late, I'm going to go ahead and throw out my reviews for Destiny 2, and I'm actually going to do a follow-up video for Ghost Recon's Breakpoint, but for this video we're going to focus on Destiny. So I'm going to start off right away by saying that ShadowKeep was actually my favorite DLC they've added. Not because of its sheer size and the amount of content that necessarily came with it, because that would obviously have to go to Destiny 1 with Taken King, and even in Destiny 2 with Forsaken. They were much bigger DLCs, they had a lot more to them, definitely a lot more content, so that's not really why I love ShadowKeep so much, because it was a much smaller DLC and had a lot less in it, but it was the actual depth of the storyline in ShadowKeep that I've enjoyed, and the fact that it's given me a lot of faith and feeling that Destiny's storyline is going to be actually moving forward, which Bungie did state. That's their end goal, is to make the world feel connected and that the story is being driven forward by some sort of force. And so I'm glad that's finally happening. We've been saying we wanted that for a long time, because in the past, every DLC was just its own individual thing. We had Osiris, where that kind of just happened out of nowhere for no reason, and then Warmind happened, and again, that kind of just happened. And then Forsaken happened, and then everything after Forsaken, it's all just been individual random things kind of happening in the world. So that's why I like what they've done with this. And it's not just the one DLC where the darkness is showing up, they're unveiling their power specifically. But on top of that, we've also had a kind of secondary event going on with the Vex offensive, where the Soul Divisive Vex from the Black Garden are actually invading us on the moon. And that has been so exciting, because you don't even just get bored of fighting all Hive on the moon all the time in one big DLC. You're getting a kind of mixed, hybrid amount of enemies and storylines and plots all kind of happening at the same time. And those are all going to emerge into the next season, or at least some of them are going to emerge into the next season, which I really, really enjoy. And on top of that, it's not just the fact that the storyline has gotten deeper, it's gotten a lot darker. So now we have these massive nightmares that have been conjured through the power of the darkness, roaming around not just on the moon, but also on some other locations as well. But the music has gotten creepier, and with the darker storyline, the Vanguard, for the first time ever, have actually been talking about the fact that they are genuinely afraid of what this power is and what is on its way towards the city. Never before have they actually stated that they were genuinely afraid of losing because of what was on its way. And that made me really feel a lot more invested in the storyline, because it does feel like, okay, the world is changing, things are getting bad, and now we have a problem that we actually have to deal with. So the next thing I wanted to bring up in this video was the fact that there was a quality of life change that Bungie actually made in this game, and that was something they did with the quests and bounties page. So as you can see, they've separated the whole quest section to the left side and the bounty section to the right side, so now you can actually go through and activate and track each of your individual quests on your page there, or you can go to your bounties to hand those in and track those and have a way easier time actually monitoring what you're doing and keeping track of it all. And it's just gotten way more simple, and I definitely think it was a good idea for them to do. The only thing I would suggest is also doing the same thing with our inventory page for our consumables versus our materials. I would love that to be separated, because there's nothing worse than having to go through your inventory to try and find a Tincture of Queen's Foil in a rush while you're trying to get through all of your different resources and different materials and such. So I think it's a great idea with what they did with the bounty system, and I would love to see that exact same system being done with other aspects of the game. I think that would be a very great quality of life change. So the next thing I want to discuss is my favorite thing they actually added into the game, and that's the finishers. The reason I like them, A, is, and I would be lying if I didn't admit it, because they are cool looking, They make you feel awesome. They're very badass. And the main reason is actually because they're quite practical to use. They have a lot of different uses for them. So if you're fighting a powerful named enemy, and they have a lot of health on their bar, you can still oftentimes get that finisher to prompt you, and you save a lot of ammo. Potentially you save your life or one of your teammates. Or if you're doing a Nightfall, it's very helpful because sometimes you can prevent an entire wipe on your team just because an enemy prompted you to get a finisher on them when they still had quite a bit of health on them, especially if they're a brutally powerful enemy. So it's very beneficial to have. I love the fact that each class has its own specific one. I like that there is one you can get from season rank, and I like that there are some that you can buy. So I like that they have different animations being put into the game. They have class-specific ones that you get, and I love just that they're so practical. You can get health regen with some of them, heavy ammo finders, special ammo finders off of finisher kills as a guarantee, and it's so nice to have that as an option, especially when, you know, you're fighting something big like an ogre and you can kick them across a room. It's a wonderful feeling. So I love that they've added this into the game, and I definitely would love to see future ones thrown into the game, maybe as Nightfall rewards or more seasonal rank rewards, or whatever direction they decide to go with that. So next, let's move straight on into our next topic, which is going to be a bit more controversial, and that is Eververse. Now, they did do a quality of life change, which added Eververse directly into the Director tab, which I think was great, because you can do it in the middle of a game when you're in orbit, whether you're loading in, it doesn't matter. You can just always access the store now. Very good quality of life change, and I really appreciate that that's what they did. What makes Eververse a lot more controversial, though, is the fact that there's a lot of people that absolutely hate microtransactions in games, and there's a lot of people that thoroughly support it. And I actually know firsthand exactly how this conversation can go, because on the Destiny forums, I actually have a forum topic posted called The Controversy of Eververse, assuming it's still there. It was about a month or so ago I posted it. And there was a lot of people getting frustrated with each other in there. Some people saying, well, stop complaining, you don't have to pay money. And other people saying, but I want to get the stuff, I just can't afford to. And so I really want to try and bridge that divide there, because I understand both points of view. Obviously, yeah, you don't have to buy the stuff. It doesn't actually change anything other than the way you look. But I also understand that not everyone has the kind of money to be throwing at just an armor set. And I mean, you think, sure, most microtransactions are only a few dollars, but just buying one set of armor is $15. The finisher bundle is actually $21, which for 3 finishers I think is very expensive. So in my post, I had actually specifically stated that I openly support having microtransactions in a store. But I do think that it's a little expensive. It's a little overpriced. And in my opinion, I think if Bungie dropped the prices down by like even 30 to 40%, a lot more people would actually be willing to buy the cosmetics, and it would kind of not end this debate and argument, but it would minimize it. There would be a lot less of a divide, because you would be paying, if you're only paying $10 for an armor set, or $8 or $9 for an armor set, I think it would be a much different situation. Alright, so now we're going to move into one of our more final topics towards this video. So I want to talk about the seasonal rank, because I think it's very important that they've added this in the game. The seasonal rank is the rank that goes from 0 to 100, or 1 to 100, and just from gaining XP throughout the season, you're going to up that rank all the way up. And it actually does go past 100. 100 is just the last place where you get rewards, but you can level it up infinitely. And I think it was a very cool idea, because the biggest issue I've always had in this game was incentive to play, especially after I've beat the campaign. The DLC is kind of over. I've done all the things. I've gone for as many triumphs as I care to go for, or can go for, until things like the Undying Mind Final Assault mission just came out this week. But I needed something to kind of keep me occupied. Why would I keep playing for 3 weeks when I could just wait for this week to happen and play again, right? So I've never, over the last year, I don't think, picked up a bounty from Zavala. I usually don't pick them up from Lord Shaxx, anyone. The only one I ever did was Gunsmith bounties, just because it was the only one that actually had any reward to it. So now what they've done is made it so that every bounty in the game contributes to that XP. Everything you do in the game contributes to that seasonal XP. And I think that was very, very smart because it gave me incentive to actually say, hey, I'm going to go do some strikes for powerful gear. I'm going to pick up my bounties from Zavala and make sure that I have those so I can get extra XP. Or I'm going to go and do patrol beacons for a little while and just hang out casually while I wait for a friend so I don't have to feel like I'm forced into doing basically nothing while they're not on yet. So it was very beneficial to add this to the game because it gives you XP for everything you do. You always feel like you're making some sort of progress, and they had so many rewards to it. I mean, you had resources, materials, upgrade gear, ornaments, weapons, all sorts of stuff throughout the season rank, and I really think that was a good idea. It really brought life to the game and made it feel more like that MMO looter shooter type game because there was so much loot to chase after, and it doesn't always have to be armor and things, and that's the thing that people always forget. Being able to say, I leveled up my stuff and got some cool upgrade materials and all these rare items, very beneficial. That's the same as how they had the Nightfall Ordeal, and how if you did the higher difficulties, you can get yourself some Ascendant Shards and upgrade prisms and such. And I think that's very beneficial. You want to be able to kind of replay those activities and grind out just for the sake of getting upgrade materials. They're just as important as getting armor. So, very beneficial thing they've added to the game then. So I want to bring this video to an end. I haven't discussed 100% of the things I wanted to talk about. The last little bit of things I'm going to kind of just throw together here kind of quick was a couple things that are disappointing me, and it's not even with ShadowKeep, it's just with Destiny as a whole. And it's been an issue since D1. The patrol zones from like the original vanilla game, so EDZ, Titan and Nessus and such, they need to be brought up in level to where we are now. Not necessarily in power level, but I mean like actual quantity of enemies. They just seem very dull, very bland areas. You run around and fight like 2 guys at a time. So that's pretty boring. I would really love to see them have more enemies put into the patrol zones, because 90% of that map is environment, and in that environment you're not really doing much. It's not like you're looking for secrets and finding all these chests, because A, the chests aren't very common, but then also on top of that, the chests that you actually do find usually have like 2 resources, and that's it. You're lucky if you find a blue rarity, and you're even luckier if you find a legendary in 1 in 500 chests that you open. So I think that they need to increase the amount of loot, the amount of enemies in patrol, and on top of that, they need to bring back Nightfall exclusive rewards, because this season they seem to have taken those away, and I don't really understand why. Which is actually the reason I'm annoyed by it more than anything, is I just don't really understand the motive behind taking away Nightfall exclusive rewards. So hopefully that changes, hopefully those get brought back, hopefully patrols get an extra amount of enemies, and patrol chests actually get loot. The only other thing I didn't discuss in this video was the Pit of Heresy dungeon that they added, and I was a day 1 finisher on that with one of my clanmates, and the 2 of us went in and we learned the whole thing, did all of it. It took us, oh god, I want to say 5 hours to learn it as we went. With just 2 of us, it was very difficult. We got the Exotic Xenophage quest done by figuring it out, which was very nice. We had an absolute blast. It was actually one of my favorite things in the game. I think it was, I want to say, still tied with Shattered Throne, because they both have their own unique styles. So it was a lot of fun, and I really would suggest that anyone that hasn't gone and done it yet, or hasn't at least finished it, go and do it, because it's an awesome dungeon. We had a lot of fun. Alright guys, this is going to be the end of the video now. I'm going to leave it here. If you have anything you want to say involving any of the topics I discussed, feel free to throw that in the comments. And if you have anything you want to say to me, also feel free to throw that in the comments. I'm open to criticism. I am pretty new, so if you've got some suggestions or things you liked or didn't like, please let me know. I would love to be able to make people happier with these videos and feel more informed. So, again, I'm Armageddon Actual, and I hope to see you next time.